So today our topic is getting the most out of LinkedIn for leaders. And I'm joined by Nathanial Bibby, who is the director of Bibby Consulting based in Perth, Western Australia, but serves his clients globally. And Nathaniel helps businesses gain a competitive edge through LinkedIn lead generation and content marketing strategies. His services include LinkedIn training, profile optimization, lead generation, content strategy, and content creation. He's won a whole bunch of awards. Best use of LinkedIn 2019 and 2020, best use of LinkedIn. I've said that, we'll cut the bit out. Social media marketer and educator of the year 2021 finalist, best use of LinkedIn 2021 finalist, and ranked number one on the top 20 LinkedIn experts in the Australia Pacific region. That's a huge list of accolades that you've got there, Nathaniel.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome. We've been trying to catch up for quite some time. We live in the same city, but you know how life is. You're super busy doing your stuff, and I do follow your work and enjoy the interviews that I've heard. So today we're going to be talking about LinkedIn for leaders, and as we know, there's lots of people who use LinkedIn. There are people who kind of hang out but don't really create content or have much of a presence on LinkedIn. And yet it's a massive tool that I believe, and I know you believe, that every leader should be part of. And I know that you've been on LinkedIn for 10 years. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, so it started out as a recruitment site, like a job posting site. People used to, put up their resume. Some people still tend to put long lists of resumes, but it's really turned into the number one professional networking platform. So can you
Yeah.
start off, Nathaniel, by telling the listeners of the Business Chat podcast a little bit about you and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks so much for having me. So I studied marketing, and while I was at university, I was starting lots of different businesses. One of which was working with my father, who was developing properties in Thailand, and we got to. I optimized his websites, and we got to the top of Google, and I was getting commission on sales. The problem was that the salespeople at his end weren't converting. So when I finished university, I flew up there to do sales for him and get his websites ranking as high as I could through Google search engine optimization. And then Google did something that I'd never heard of called an algorithm update. We hear about them all the time now. And all of the things that I was doing to get these websites to the top of Google ended up getting the rankings dropped to like page 100, and literally we weren't getting any traffic whatsoever. And this was about the time Google AdWords was starting out. And so I learned, studied, tried, tested pretty much everything on Google AdWords, ended up moving to Hong Kong to work for a business there. And so one of the things that I've learned throughout my online marketing career is that you've got to adapt in order to stay ahead of the curve and be successful and gain that competitive edge. And so, of course, after AdWords became more competitive, more expensive, social media was the next thing to come along. And just based on my lifestyle at the time in my late 20s, Facebook was not something that I thought I could see myself making money out of. And so I lent my attention to LinkedIn, studied, the platform. At the time, it was very simple. It was like you say, just a recruitment site. And I moved to Melbourne, and I was working for an online marketing agency. And I hadn't worked in the marketing industry. I've been doing a lot of marketing, but I hadn't worked in the marketing industry. So I said to my boss, "What's the perfect client for online marketing?" And he said, "Look, it's probably people in the medical industry, either dentists or surgeons. They got a lot of money. They always need new clients. They don't know anything about marketing." And so, being naive to the industry, I tried cold calling all of the dental practices and surgery clinics in Melbourne. And they've got a practice manager, and their job, part of their job description is to stop guys like me speaking to the surgeon. So, calling them wasn't successful. I tried door knocking, literally driving around from clinic to clinic. That didn't work. And I was like, oh yeah, what about this LinkedIn thing? I just started my LinkedIn profile. And keep in mind that medical practitioners aren't on the computer all the time. But I got contacted in 1 week. I contacted 10 cosmetic surgeons. I got 6 responses. I had 4 meetings and made 1 sale. but the sale, was a high transaction size because it was the ideal client. And so, the week after that, I sent twice as many LinkedIn messages out, got twice as many sales. And I just kept doing that because that system was working, and we grew that business. In 18 months. We went from 8 employees to 120. And then I just decided I've got to start offering this to other companies. So I left that business, start my own company in LinkedIn marketing. And it was the first LinkedIn training and LinkedIn marketing agency in Australia. So, as LinkedIn developed, and things like the Australian Digital Marketing Institute and different registered training organizations want a LinkedIn course, or Apple want a LinkedIn speaker to come in and talk to all of their staff. I was getting the call. I was the guy in Australia. And so we built this reputation of being the LinkedIn expert. And, to be honest, if it became less effective tomorrow, I would go and do something more effective. But it's just grown, and the opportunities just become bigger and bigger. And like you said, it's become the number one go-to professional network in the world. So everything's been digitalized, and this is that happening in business networking.
Yeah, yeah. I love what you said about you've got to be able to adapt, because what we're doing today may not work tomorrow. I mean, we had like the big Facebook fail a couple of weeks ago, and it's just that big lesson of not to have all your eggs in one basket, and making sure that you've got some of your own content on your own domain, and not use these sort of social media platforms for your whole business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about adding value on LinkedIn, because that's really what it's all about. And there's enough noise out there already. And we see a lot of content that goes viral that's not necessarily value adding. So let's just focus on the value. How can leaders make a difference on LinkedIn, and what should they be doing?
Yeah. Well, the algorithm on LinkedIn, first of all, you can get a lot of organic reach. You used to be able to on Facebook. You still can on Instagram. But in order to take advantage of that, you need to trigger some sort of emotional response. So there is some science to it, like how you can trigger brain chemicals in your content. And a lot of people, as you said, have used those tricks to go viral with content that may or may not have anything to do with their business. So look, if you're on there and you've got a business, the goal is not to go viral. The goal is not to get as many followers as you can. The goal is not to get as many eyeballs as you can, because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people that have done that aren't making any money. So it actually starts with the quality of your network. Like LinkedIn will only ever be as good as your quality of your network is. So if you just, the problem is if you just start adding people, and you just have this diluted network, which means that everything you do is going to be diluted. So if you have a target audience, you connect with that target audience so that the people that are likely to be in your audience are the ideal client. That's the first ththing. And then you want to create content that resonates with them, which, the best way to do it is trial and error. Like my audience is not going to respond to the same thing that your audience will. And learn the nuances of the platform. Like there's a couple of things that, like, very simple things that you just got to take into consideration. Like one is, over 70% of people are watching with the sound off. So if you are creating videos, you've got to think about that and put subtitles in if you want people to hear what you're saying. Another one is more than 70% of people are looking at it on a mobile device, so if you're writing big chunks of text, it's hard to read on a mobile device. And all you got to do is, if they lose their spot, you've lost their attention, they're on to the next thing. That's how quick things are moving on social media. So you got to be really mindful of people's time and the format in which you deliver information. Like people ask me things like, "Oh, what's the ideal length of a video?" And like it's shorter is better, but you've got to get the value across. So it's as short as you can while you're getting the value across. And there's 4 ways to add value through content. You can provide information, you can provide education, you can provide entertainment, or you can provide inspiration. Right? Those are the 4 ways to do it. And we see a lot of education on LinkedIn. We see quite a lot of information. I really like the inspiration and entertainment. I think are the 2 big ones that a lot of people aren't doing, and that can really make you stand out. And I think with adding value, you just got to remember, like, it's not about you. So like, if you want to inspire someone, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to shout from the rooftops how awesome you are. You can actually talk about your clients' successes. You can talk about other people's successes. But I think a lot of business professionals and sales professionals are very protective of of what they've got, their information, their knowledge, who their clients are. They don't want their competitors seeing who their clients are and all this sort of stuff. That sort of attitude doesn't lend itself very well to social media. I think you just got to give and give and give. And if people are copying what you're doing, you're probably doing something right. That's my thoughts on it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your insights. Great information, Nathaniel. What about, can we talk about the invitation? Because there's sort of different schools of thought. We've heard a lot about making sure that you customize or personalize the invitation so that people, genuinely know that you're real and you want to reach out and you're not some bot. But then I was reading something you wrote recently around you've tried and tested and people are going back to just clicking the button and sending that invitation. Because what's happening now is you're getting a customized invitation. As soon as you accept, you're then getting spammed with a sales message or a sales video. So how can we craft an invitation that's more likely to get accepted by our ideal clients or those that we want to connect with?
Yeah, great question. Again, like I think, putting yourself, I think something that we're all familiar with is business networking in person. And I think of LinkedIn very similar to that. If you're connecting with someone, it's like exchanging business cards, and if you're going to message them, it's probably the first thing that comes out of your mouth when you meet with them. And so like, you've got to, like, customizing it is better. The problem is that most people are customizing it and talking about their own needs. People will write connection requests and say, hi, I'd like to connect with you because I would like to, they're pretty much saying I would like to sell you my services, or, and you've got to put it in the value of the other person. And if you can provide some sort of relevancy, that it's going to be a lot easier. You think about it. If somebody approaches you at a networking thing and they're like, hey, Brian and Todd, and they're my clients and they know you. Oh, what's your name? Like, they're much more likely to go, oh yeah, we know the same people.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I see that you're a member of this club. I'm a member of this club too. Or, don't you remember we worked for the same company 3 years ago? And so if you can provide that relevancy, then you're going to get a much better result. And then when they connect with you, like, I do think it's a good idea to continue the conversation, but going straight for the sales pitch it's just not going to work. Like, you got to understand that they don't know you from a bar of soap, and everybody on social media is like, especially on LinkedIn, they're just, when they see these messages and notifications, everyone's just thinking, is this guy trying to get something from me, or is this guy trying to help me? And you don't want to fall into that category because there's so many people that are in that category. It's like, it's very easy. You got to stand out and add value. And if you do want to help people in a certain industry, the chances are they will have a problem that you're solving. And a lot of people think about the service that they're selling rather than the problem that they're solving. And if you think about it, like, like, let's say, for example, you had the cure for cancer, right? You had the cure for cancer, but no one knew about it, right? You want to connect with people, and then you want to find out if they've got cancer or somebody they know have got cancer, so that you can help them. But you're not going to go just sending them all of your research and pitching to people before you know. So the trick is, I mean, it was not a trick, but like, if you're thinking about it in terms of helping people and solving problems, you would say, hey, we just connected. I noticed that you're in this industry, which is the same industry a lot of my clients work in. I'd love to speak to you to find out more about what you're up to, what your business objectives are, what are you struggling with at the moment. So we can see if there's an opportunity for me to help or not. But I'm not going to sell to you until you've told me that you've got the problem that I can solve, because that's just going to annoy people.
Yeah, it's condescending, isn't it? When people assume that you've got this problem and you actually haven't. They may have read something in your profile and just sort of, those messages really annoy me. I've got a sort of a 2 strikes and you're out policy. I tend to accept most requests, but then if people spam and I say no thanks when they go, hey, do you want to catch up about this? But if they do it again, then I just let them know that I'm blocking them and removing their connection.
Well, the reason they're doing it is because they're automating it, right? Or they're automating it or sending out 100 messages in an hour. And automation, like when it was invented, it wasn't invented to be less personalized. The whole idea with it was it so that you can be more personalized at scale. And so, like, I mean, if you're a sales professional, that you don't need to automate it. You've got enough time to be personalized at scale. Like the goal is to be more personalized, not less personalized. You wouldn't need to send 1,000 messages out if every single one you took the time to look at their profile, find that relevant thing, ask them if you could have a conversation to find out if you've got the problem. Your calendar would probably fill up after you send 30 messages.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. And I think there's so much in business that you can outsource, but why outsource relationship building? Because that is the most important thing. I outsource a lot, but it's me on social media every single time. I don't want somebody else answering or commenting on my behalf. It's important that you're consistent with your brand voice. Do you agree? You've got to be sort of the same on than you are off. So if somebody meets you, then they kind of know that you're consistent with your message.
Yeah, and you can still like automate it, systemize it if you're really targeted and all these profiles meet this criteria, then you could write the same message. And that's what we do for our clients. But you just got to make sure that those people are targeted and the message doesn't start selling to them straight away. Because I mean, not everyone for our client campaigns, not everyone responds and says, let's have a phone call. I mean, a lot more people do than if we write different messages. But the point is, we don't annoy people in the process. Like the people that don't reply or don't want a phone call, they're not annoyed with the client. So 6 months down the track, they get these messages and they'll be like, oh, we actually want to talk to you about this now because you haven't ruined the relationship by trying to sell to them at the wrong time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Can we talk about the free versus paid? You probably get this question all the time, the free versus paid. Like it's not the cheapest platform compared to, other things that we might pay a monthly subscription for. I think it's about 70, works out about a 70 Australian dollars. Do we really need a paid LinkedIn account? Or can we get by with a free one?
The price has gone up recently as well.
Has it? Oh, yeah. How much is it now?
120 something. Yeah.
Whoa.
For Sales Navigator a month. Yeah. So like there's a couple of things. So if you get to the point where you're doing so much activity on LinkedIn, it says you've reached the limit of monthly searches. Then you're going to need to upgrade. You don't necessarily need to get Sales Navigator in that instance. Like LinkedIn Career is cheaper and you can get more searches with that. And that's about $50 a month or something. So the clients which I insist that they upgrade to Sales Navigator are the ones where they're targeting businesses that they would like to be of a certain company size. So if they say to me, Nathaniel, look, we only work with businesses that have got at least 200 employees, or the opposite, like they only work with small businesses, they've got to have between 10 to 100 employees. I say, okay, great, let's get Sales Navigator because we can't use that search criteria in the free version.
Right. Yeah.
So that gives you these extra search tools, which make a big difference. Like that's really important. But I mean, unless you're running into those two areas, most of the time you don't need a Sales Navigator account. You can do it with a free version. You can send 100 connection requests out whether you got paid or not. So before I was like, you only need free, but they've made more restrictions on the free version now. So it makes sense that people upgrade, and it's going to continue to change. It's going to continue to change. They want to sell their upgrades. That's their business model. So
So apart from being capped at the number of connections you can make per week, does a free account have it? What other restrictions does it have? I know you can't see who's viewed your profile, but what about the actual algorithm and the reach of your posts? Is that different?
No, it's not. No, it's not different. No. The contents is all organic. Whether you got a paid account or not, like you get the same amount of exposure if you know what you're doing. But I mean, there's just a lot of people posting content that aren't getting that initial engagement, and if you don't get that initial engagement, no one's going to see it. So it's a bit of a not a waste of time it's not a waste of time if you're learning, but if you're not learning anything in the process, like it's you got to get that engagement for people to see it, and it's all about like you said, adding value, but doing it in a way that's easy to consume, and involving others. There's a lot of opportunities that are missed. Like if you go to a business event, take a selfie, tag some people in it, you're going to get some engagement. Like if you get engagement on your last post, LinkedIn knows that you've got some activity there. So when you do your next post, it'll be a bit easier, to get that engagement. You've got to. There's things that I throw in the mix every now and then just to boost engagement on one post, just so that the other ones, like as I post, get a little bit more activity. LinkedIn polls is another way to do it. Do a very simple poll. So the poll of multiple choice answers. You ask a question. If you don't get a lot of responses, because you should, this is the only reason why is because you haven't made it simple enough. You just make it simpler, and you'll get engagement on polls, and then your next post will be a lot easier to get engagement on.
Right. So when you say boost a post, you don't mean pay to boost it, do you? You mean just different content? Yeah. Okay.
So if I put a post up that gets 10,000 views, the next post will do well. Most likely do better than normal.
Yeah, because LinkedIn recognizes that people are interested in what it is that you're sharing.
Yeah. And whether it's the last posted well, or you're corresponding with a lot of people privately in messages. Like if I've got a lot of conversations going on in my inbox, that also helps my content. There's a lot of activity. People are responding.
Yeah, interesting. That's a great tip. So content marketing for busy people. Can you share your insights on the type of post? There's a lot written about video versus text with a picture versus text only. In your opinion and from your research, what's best?
Look, it's going to be what you find works best for you. Like the statistics say, video gets shared 20 times more than any other piece of content on LinkedIn. So, so if you can do video well, do it. But not everyone can. Like, there's the first challenge is you got to get people to press play, right? Because there's a video, there's the caption. The caption above it's got to be really good. And then when somebody's watching a video, I'll grab this piece of paper to show you what I'm talking about. When somebody's watching a video, right? If on the bottom axis here, we've got the time, and this vertical axis is a number of people watching. This is how many people stop watching immediately, and it just sort of levels out. So like if you get 1,000 views, the chances are the amount of people that watch the whole thing are probably like 20 people. Like it's
right. Yeah.
So you got to hook people at the start, and you got to keep people watching. And even though it may seem like you got 500 views, if your first 10 seconds is like, hey, here I am, I'm just hopping on a video. I'm a bit nervous. I don't know, but like there's nothing valuable in that first 10 seconds. I guarantee it, you've lost 80% of the people that viewed it in the first place.
Yeah, true. And what about native upload versus like LinkedIn Live? Like a lot more people are getting LinkedIn Live now. I got it the other day. I didn't even ask for it. They just sent it to me and said, hey, here it is. I don't know if I'll use it yet. So now I've got it. Am I better to use LinkedIn Live to make a video, or am I better to make a video and then upload it?
LinkedIn Live, and this has just happened recently, so they may change it, but they've integrated with LinkedIn events. So when you schedule a LinkedIn Live, it creates a LinkedIn event, right? So in order for you to get views on your live at the moment, you've got to invite people to that event. So the way I would do it is I'd schedule the live like 2 or 3 weeks away. And then I would go into the LinkedIn event, and I would invite my entire network to that event. And so they'll all get notified when you go live. But if you just go live without doing that, the chances are not many people will see it because no one's invited to the event. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So it's almost like the Facebook watch party type of concept.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
I mean, it's just happened. Like when it happened, I do this weekly show called Monday Night Live. And so for the last 3 weeks, I haven't done it. I was like, oh, okay. Because if I keep doing it the way I was doing it, we're not going to get many views. And so I've got to adjust this strategy because like I can't just go live on Monday anymore and expect people to be there. And and so I have got a plan in place to launch it again in the new year. But it will involve LinkedIn events. It's a completely different strategy. So like just having the ability to adapt, a lot of people message me every Monday night going, where are you? Where's this Monday Night Live? And I'm like, just bear with me, guys. I got to work this out.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. So it's like watch this space to see what they do next with it.
Yeah, exactly. But
The
I mean, it's a
changes
good
are
opportunity.
rapid, aren't they?
Like you can invite up to 1,000 people to a LinkedIn event every week. So if your network's like 3,000 people, if you allow 3 weeks, you can invite 1,000 people each week, and you'll get heaps of people looking at it. It's a great opportunity. You just got to use it right.
Yeah, I have to have a think about that. So, what do you offer for your clients? I mentioned a little bit at the beginning when I did your intro, but how do you help clients? So you got a fully done for you service?
Yeah, so I run training for sales teams. I enjoy that a lot. But the managed services are lead generation and content creation. So we'll do those outreach, connecting, sending messages. Like a client I've been working with this morning, indoor skydiving. I Fly Australia, right? So indoor skydiving, they got locations in Melbourne, Queensland, Sydney, Perth, and all Christmas parties are coming up. So we're going out and contacting office managers, event managers, and we're like, what are you doing for your Christmas party? We'd love to have you in. So that's like an example of how lead generation works. And then the content side of things, I've got this service called Behind the Brand. And behind the brand, I interview a business owner. And because a lot of business owners don't have experience on camera. So if I'm interviewing them, and whether we do it in person or whether we do it on Zoom, I can ask them questions that's going to draw out the content that I notice from my experience will create engaging content. And so like I ask them these questions, and then we edit it. So it's like, really exciting. We put a hook at the start, we get a branded intro, we put the subtitles on it. And then we can create 20 short videos from 45-minute interview. And all of a sudden, these are guys that have got like no experience with content, never posted before. They may only have 300 people in their network, and the first video they're getting 2,000 views. And I'm like, yes, this is working.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh wow, that's good. That's a great service. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Look, it's been really great chatting with you today, Nathaniel. I've learned so much, and as you say, it's changing all the time. So I encourage people to follow you on LinkedIn and listen to all your content because you're fully across all the changes. So to finish up each episode, I love to ask my guests the same two questions. So here we go. The first question is, can you share a quote or a mantra that you live by?
Yeah, one I've always loved is by Tony Robbins, and he says, proximity is power. And I believe that one of the most important things you can do to be successful is surround yourself with people that are already achieve what you want to do, or just going to be positive and encourage you. Like too many of us, the people we talk to on a daily basis are bringing us down rather than pushing us up, and it's been a big lesson in my life. So proximity is power is a big quote from Tony Robbins that I've tried to implement in my life. And it's hard because a lot of people are like, you got family members and stuff, like you can't do it with everyone, but do it to your best of your ability. It'll make a big difference in your life.
Excellent. That's a great one. And a business book, one that has really had an impact on you, that's sort of evergreen, that you refer to often, that you think will be a great addition to any leader's bookshelf.
Yeah, look, so many. I do a lot of reading, but one book that I will mention is it's Gary Keller. It's called The One Thing, and yeah, so many of us got such long to-do lists, and we never get through it, and we tend to do the easy stuff first, and this whole book is about you focusing on the one thing today that's really going to make a difference in your business. So if you write a to-do list and it's got 20 things, like turn the page over and just write one thing, because like if it's a one thing that you can do uniquely and it's really important, it's going to make a big difference, and you'll end up doing it really well. And I think those are the things that quite often get skipped. And I just think that focusing on the one thing quite often, like those other 19 things on your list can become irrelevant. It's a great book. It's only a short read, so I highly recommend checking that one out.
Yeah, I'll get that one. It's a great. I love the concept. I mean, we so often we go into overwhelm and procrastination because of that to-do list is just so long. So the one thing is great. I love that. It's been awesome chatting with you today, Nathanial Bibby from Bibby Consulting here on the Business Chat podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.